Ever since I was a kid, I've had this weird thing for old paintings. Not the famous ones you see in museums, but the forgotten ones. The portraits you find covered in dust in antique shops, or staring out from the dark corners of a flea market. There's a certain sadness to them, a forgotten history in their cracked canvases and faded colors. My apartment is full of them. Portraits of stern-looking men with mutton-chop sideburns, and pale women with their hair piled high. My friends think it's creepy. They say it feels like you're always being watched. I used to laugh it off. I liked the feeling, the silent company. But that all changed when I brought home the painting of the little girl. I found her in a grimy, cluttered antique store downtown, the kind that smells of mothballs and old paper. She was tucked away behind a stack of rickety chairs, almost completely hidden. The portrait was small, maybe a foot tall, in a heavy, ornate gold frame that was tarnished with age. The girl in the painting couldn't have been more than 7 or 8 years old. She wore a simple, dark blue dress with a white lace collar. Her blonde hair was pulled back into 2 neat braids, and she held a single wilting daisy in her small hands. But it was her eyes that got me. They were a startlingly bright shade of blue, and they looked real, too real. They were wide and sad, with an unnerving intensity, as if she was pleading with me, begging me to see something only she could. The shopkeeper, a shriveled old man with glasses as thick as bottle bottoms, barely glanced at it. He gave it to me for $20, just to get it out of his way. I took it home and found the perfect spot for it, right in the main hallway, across from my bedroom door. It was the first thing I'd see in the morning, and the last thing I'd see at night. The first few days were normal. I'd walk past, maybe give a little nod to the girl. I even gave her a name, Lily. It seemed to fit her delicate, somber expression. But then, the strange things started happening. It began subtly. I'd be watching TV in the living room, and out of the corner of my eye, I'd get that prickly feeling on the back of my neck, the feeling of being watched. I'd glance down the hall, and there she'd be, Lily. Under the dim hallway light, her blue eyes seemed to glisten, fixed directly on me. I'd tell myself it was just a trick of the light, an optical illusion. The painter was just really good, that's all. A week later, I came home from work, exhausted. As I fumbled for the light switch in the hallway, I noticed something was off. The painting wasn't straight. It was tilted at a sharp angle, as if someone had knocked into it. I lived alone. My cat, Jasper, was old and fat and could barely jump onto the couch, let alone a painting on the wall. I straightened it, my heart pounding a little faster than usual. Shaking my head, I blamed it on a tremor from a passing truck. Anything plausible. But when I looked at the painting again, really looked, I felt a cold chill. Her expression. It seemed different. The sadness in her eyes was still there, but now there was something else mixed in. A flicker of anger. The corners of her small mouth, which I'd always thought were neutral, seemed to be turned down in a faint, almost imperceptible frown. No, I told myself, you're just tired. Your mind is playing tricks on you. But the tricks kept coming. I started hearing noises at night. Faint whispers, like the rustle of a dress, coming from the hallway. Sometimes I'd hear a soft, rhythmic thudding against the wall, right where the painting was hanging. One night, I was woken up by Jasper, hissing and spitting at my bedroom door, his back arched, fur standing on end. He never did that. He was staring intently into the hallway, at the spot where the painting hung. I couldn't see it from my bed, and frankly, I didn't want to. I pulled the covers over my head like a little kid and waited for the sun to come up. The next morning, I found a long scratch mark on the wall directly beneath the painting. It was fresh. The plaster was flaked onto the floor. The breaking point came on a Saturday night. I had a friend, Mark, over for a couple of drinks. Mark had always been the biggest skeptic of my haunted paintings. He thought it was all in my head. As he was leaving, he stopped in the hallway and stared at the portrait of Lily. "You know," he said, squinting, "that one is genuinely creepy. I swear her eyes are following me." He laughed it off and left. I stood there, frozen, staring at the painting. He saw it too. It wasn't just me. As I turned to lock the door behind him, I heard a sound that made my blood run cold. A tiny, high-pitched giggle. It came directly from the painting. I slowly turned around. My entire body was trembling. I looked at the painting of the little girl. Her face had changed completely. There was no sadness left in her eyes. They were wide with a malicious glee, and her mouth was stretched into a terrifying, unnatural smile, showing a row of tiny, sharp-looking teeth that hadn't been there before. The wilting daisy she was holding was gone. Instead, her small hand was now clenched into a tight fist. My breath caught in my throat. I couldn't scream. I couldn't move. The hallway light flickered above me, casting long, dancing shadows. In the flickering light, for just a split second, I saw her hand move. Her tiny fingers twitched, a slow, deliberate motion. Then, the light bulb blew out with a sharp pop, plunging the hallway into darkness. I scrambled back, tripping over my own feet, and slammed my bedroom door shut, locking it. I could hear it then, a frantic scratching sound from the other side of the door. Not the sound of a cat, but something harder, sharper, like fingernails on wood. Then came the giggling again, louder this time, distorted and cruel. It was the sound of pure, childish malice. I huddled in the corner of my room, phone in hand, my fingers shaking too much to dial. The scratching stopped. An eerie silence fell over the apartment. I held my breath, listening. A soft thump, and then another. It was the sound of small, bare feet, slowly, deliberately, walking away from my door, down the hallway. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed pressed against the far wall of my bedroom until the first rays of morning sun crept through my window. Only then did I dare to open the door. The hallway was empty. The scratching on my bedroom door was deep and jagged. And the painting was gone. Not just the canvas, but the heavy, ornate frame, too. There was nothing on the wall but an empty hook and the faint, rectangular outline in the dust where it used to hang. I searched the entire apartment, every closet, under every piece of furniture. It was gone, vanished. It's been a month since that night. I got rid of all the other paintings. My walls are bare now, but I don't care. I still have nightmares. I see her face, that terrible, smiling face. Sometimes I wake up in a cold sweat, swearing I can hear a little girl's giggle from just outside my window. I moved apartments last week. I couldn't stand it anymore. But yesterday, I got a package delivered to my new address. There was no return label. My hands were shaking as I opened it. Inside, nestled in bubble wrap, was a small, ornate gold frame. The painting inside was of a familiar hallway. My old hallway. And at the far end, peeking out from a doorway, was the face of a little girl with bright blue eyes and a wicked smile. And written in what looked like blood at the bottom of the canvas were 3 words. "Found you again."